Well, welcome back to another episode of Back to Paranormal. And this is a show where we talk about a lot of different things, near-death experiences and ghosts and spirits and UFOs and Bigfoot and all that other wonderful stuff. And I'm sitting here with the very beautiful...
Hi.
It's Marjorie.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
How's everybody doing tonight? Well, last week... on the old podcast, we had on psychic medium Jennifer Ann, and that was part 1. Today we're having part 2. And last week what did we have as a drink last week?
Well, we had the chai, iced chai.
Iced chai, which is what Jennifer was drinking when we interviewed her.
Yeah.
And tonight we decided to make...
I made more.
She made more. So we're going to do a little toast here. Our toast is we go... What do we say?
We say boop.
Boop. So here we go. Betty Boop. There you go.
We need to make it sound better.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, let's do it. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Boop.
Boop. There we go. Taking a little sip here. Mmm.
It's good chai.
It is good chai. How do you prepare that?
Well, I make an organic rooibos chai tea, which I love, which is decaffeinated or caffeine-free.
Caffeine-free.
And, I put in a little bit of honey.
Oh, you're my honey.
You're my honey.
There's always honey in there, yeah.
When I brew it. And,
yes.
And then I chill it down.
You chill it down.
Yeah. And then you
serve it on the rocks.
And you serve it on ice and you lattize it.
So what'd you do? You add some cream to it or milk?
It's just a little half and half. It's kind of naughty.
Anything else?
It's a little bit naughty.
You put some sweetener in there of some sort?
I added the honey.
Oh, the honey. Oh, that's right. You said the honey.
You just weren't listening.
I was listening, but I was thinking the other honey. Anyway. Well, you're very beautiful tonight, as always.
Angel.
Thank
you.
So people have really liked the first part of the interview, and they're waiting. They're hanging on for part 2, which is going to be presented in a few moments. Imminently.
And it's part 2 of 2.
That's right.
So cherish these moments, folks.
If you like the what you're listening to, we have about 14 other episodes that are up, and we review everything from TV shows and movies. There's a wonderful book called what is it?
Hello from Heaven.
Hello from Heaven.
And E².
Yes, and we've done quite a few different things. Also reviewing some TV shows with paranormal stuff, and those have been quite fun. So if you are checking us out for the first time, please check out some of those other episodes because they're very, very interesting, and we've gotten a lot of big thumbs up on those. So there you go. And we have the Back to Paranormal website, so you can check that out. We write some of our experiences doing the show and some after notes. And there is a post about this show that's going up tonight. So, please check that out. It's backtoparanormal.com. We also have a Facebook page, which is the Back to Paranormal Facebook page. So you can join on there. And you can also subscribe on the website and stuff like that. So, you're always informed every time a brand new Back to Paranormal show is uploaded for your listening pleasure. How's that sound?
That sounded great.
It sounded pretty rehearsed, didn't it?
No, it didn't sound rehearsed.
Oh, okay.
It sounded very natural.
Okay, well, I didn't rehearse it, but it sounded rehearsed.
Sounded good, hon.
Well, thank you so much. Anyway, we should just go right to it. What do you think?
I say we should just get into it.
We should get right into it. So here is
Part two.
Part two. She is amazing. And she gave me a reading. If you're tuning into this and you haven't heard the first part of this, you should really listen to that. She is amazing psychic medium. And I was read by her, and she came up with things that she couldn't have possibly known, things out of left field, and just absolutely amazing. And we thought the interview was really wonderful. We enjoyed doing the interview with her. We had a very good rapport. So thank you in advance. I know we thanked her last week, but we're thanking her again for coming on and doing this interview. Anyway, here it is.
Part two of our interview, our discussion with psychic medium Jennifer Ann.
Please enjoy.
Do you believe our loved ones can see our lives?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, they have proven that over and over.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. When my son was born, I saw him in healthcare. I mean, that my son's going to be 20, and now he's, going to Stony Brook for nursing, and, he's trying to get certified for EMT. And this was, I didn't, plant this seed or anything, because I know a lot of people will say, well, hey,
Sorry.
No, that's okay. People may say, hey, you planted that seed. Well, I didn't plant any seed because, as I said earlier, my kid is not a believer in this.
Right.
So that's not your way
No.
to impose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think people come around to, I think I think a lot of people get away from this and then they kind of come back.
I do. I think so.
I think when I was a kid, I think I was very spiritual and always very positive. And I think when I got into my teens, I think there was a lot of other stuff going on.
Of course.
And, I got a little bit more negative, I would say. But then I think somewhere along the way, it kind of came around,
So I'd like to make a comment on that. I actually like that you brought that up.
Okay.
I think there's this misconception about spiritual people or mediums like myself. I think people think I live in white light 24/7. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the angel
with
band.
the angel, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm a human being first.
Sure.
And it's like you said, we go through negative experiences in life. And yes, the way that my father passed away was he was taken from me.
Yeah.
And it made me angry. And I'm allowed to be angry. But
Sure.
a lot of times people will say to me, well, why are you angry? He's in a better place. No, but it's how he got there.
Right.
And it's I know my father's in a beautiful place, but I want to honor how he got there and how it made me feel.
Sure.
So, yes, we all go into negative headspaces. And I think that we have to, because that is our purpose, to learn from that and to become better, or how to figure out how to get out of a negative situation and turn it into a positive.
Right.
So I love that you brought that up, because I think that's important. Spiritual people should not only live in the light. There needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
Yes. I have one very good friend who he's extremely spiritual, and I absolutely am devoted to him. I absolutely adore him, but he doesn't want to deal with the inevitable negative things that transpire in life, and he just wants to shut it all out. And I understand his reasons why. They're very personal, and I get it. But also I'm like, sometimes you have to open up that box in order to properly heal it, so that it's not a scar.
So I did a reading this week. Same exact conversation. Obviously, we were meant to talk about this. There's a lot of mediums out there, well-known mediums, that say, well, we don't focus on the negative. We only talk about the good stuff.
Right.
Okay. Well, great. Okay. But when you come into my office and I'm sitting there for 3 hours, what my goal is, yes, let's focus on the good stuff, but let's also focus on what's bad and how we can change it. So it was funny, because I had this conversation with my client, and he was like, I actually like your approach. And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that, because I've had people say to me, why are we focusing on the negative. And I'm like, no, we're not.
The truth.
Because it's the truth. And I'm not going to sit here and fluff the reading and say, oh, they love you so much. No, of course they love you. That's not why you're here. You know that they love you. But they also see that you're in pain. And if there's something that they can do during this session to help with that pain, why not? So I have to tap into the negative in certain people's lives. And it's always to take the negative. What can we do to take the negative and turn it into a positive? So
to give hope.
Yes, this too shall pass. Yes. You know, and the spirit world is going to help that.
Yeah.
Yes, we were recently at this psychic fair because we wanted to kind of see what it was all about. Yes. And one thing that really struck me, and I said to Brian after, we're driving to dinner, I said, it was fascinating to me how the people who were visiting, the guests, were either really old and decrepit, really young. I'm not trying to be rude, but they were like, some people were.
I love your honesty. I love it.
Yeah.
They were. Some walked in, and I was like, okay, I hope this gives you what you need. You clearly are seeking, or they were really young. I thought that was the most interesting thing of the whole day.
Yeah, there were very few people in between.
Yes.
So no 30, 40, 50-year-olds.
So are you referring to the readers themselves or the people that were being read?
Visitors.
The visitors.
The people walking through.
Okay.
It was very rare to get the middle-aged. I think we had that one couple that came by.
Yeah.
That I noticed too. But other than that, it was like super young or super...
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was interesting. I don't know what to make of that. Do middle-aged people think that it's all hunky-dory? We're doing fine.
Maybe the middle... So I guess we would be considered the middle-aged people, right? Like we would be considered, right?
I'm going to be 50 next month.
Well, I'm 48, so we're right there. So
I'm a little bit older.
So here's my opinion on that. The younger generation doesn't know better. Okay, so they're looking for guidance and advice, but they can't afford to go to, somebody who is known, right? So I think the younger generation can afford a $20 reading or a $40 reading. Right. So I think there's your answer to the younger generation.
Got it. Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the older generation, right? So the baby boomers, the boomers, right?
Yeah.
I think all they know is the psychic fair. I don't think that they're really familiar with that you can go and get a reading now from, maybe... So there's a ton of mediums and psychics around. Yeah. But also if there's a waiting list, you got to wait on a list, right? If they're good, there's going to be a waiting list.
Sure.
And maybe they just don't have the patience to wait. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the middle-aged, because a lot of my clientele is middle-aged. So when you're saying, where's the middle-aged, they're coming to me.
They're coming to you.
Yes.
I see.
They're doing their research.
Due diligence.
You got it.
Exactly.
The Gen X's, the Gen X's, let me tell you something about us. You cannot fool a Gen X. Okay, we come from, a time where it's like we will do our research.
Yeah. Well, I did my research on you.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Well, now I realize how dumb my question was.
Yeah.
No question is dumb.
But I looked around the room and I was like, golly, what's going on?
Yeah.
The two extremes.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I was developing a show and was involved with the producers of Crossing Over with John Edward.
Okay.
And they believed he was the real deal. But when I was looking for somebody, your name kept coming up. Like, oh, she's unbelievable. She's like right on, spot on. You don't have to tell her anything. And I was like, she's for me. That's the one I'm going to. And then I found out you lived 5 blocks away from me.
Oh, even better.
So you were in Levittown. You were just over the border. You were behind.
Yes, right by Wantagh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the borderline from Wantagh.
Borderline, and I was on the other side of the line. So
which is where my sister lives right now.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. So like I said before, the meeting was the reading was amazing.
Thank you.
And the one thing that was really funny was I said a little prayer before the meeting. I keep saying the meeting, the reading. And it was, I had this out-of-body experience when I was like 2 or 3 years old. And the out-of-body experience was basically, I fell asleep on my bed, and all of a sudden I was out of my body, and I was looking down, and I was with somebody else, like another young boy. And it you know, and but it happened while I was asleep. Then I woke up. But it always stayed with me. Always stayed with me. And so I said a little prayer. I said, I want to know if that was real. And I wasn't going to say anything about it. It wasn't going to be like, and what about that out-of-body experience that happened, you know, when I was young? You know, you could say yes or no. But if you were the real deal, you were going to somehow mention that. And sure enough, I would say about 3 or 4 minutes. That I don't know if that's my phone or your phone.
That's mine. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's actually my ring.
Oh, that's all right. So, about anyway, about 4 minutes into the reading, you're doing great. You're describing my mom and my aunt and my father and my uncle that passed away, and then all of a sudden you just stopped and you looked at me and you said, "Oh." And that out-of-body experience you had when you were 2 or 3 years old, which I was like, sold. There you go. So no, it was an amazing moment. And I mean, look, I've had things happen that have really verified to me that we move on.
Yeah.
Why am I loud?
A little bit. I love you.
I'm sorry about being so loud. But no, it was absolutely.
Excited.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. So I've had things happen to me that were verified that my father is definitely, you know, he's communicating with me. And I don't know if you heard about the answering machine thing on the podcast, but he. So I'll just tell you quick. I was making phone calls. This happened for a while. This is after my father passed away, and my father's name was Frank, or is Frank.
Is Frank.
And so I make these phone calls and for work, and then basically I would say, "Hi, this is Brian. I'm calling from this place, and you know, please call me back, and need to make an appointment with you." And so people would call back, and they'd say, "Hi, can I speak to Frank?"
Oh.
And this happened over and over and over again. And just to make it a short story. One day it occurred to me, I'm leaving messages. Why don't I just listen to the message? Because I want to hear what they're hearing.
It's so perplexing.
Yeah.
Am I doing this?
And so one day I called somebody, and then they called back, and somebody else took the call, and I heard from the other room, "Oh, there's no Frank here." "No, I'm sorry, there's no Frank." So I rushed over, and I said, who just called? And they said, yeah, one of our customers called, and I said, "Do you have their number?" And so they said, "Yeah, here." And so I called them, and I said, "Is there any possibility I could listen to that message? Because a lot of people are calling for Frank, and it's just me, Brian, here." So she said, "Oh yeah, sure." So she plays the message, and it's, "Hi, this is Frank. It's my voice." My father sounded like me, but it said Frank on the message. And I said, when it finished, all the rest of it was the same, what I said. And then basically I asked them to play it again. And I said, I just have to hear that again. And so they played it again. And sure enough, it was clear as a bell.
And the person who was in the office with you, you turned to them and you said, "When I left that message, what did I say my name was?"
Yeah.
They said, "You said Brian."
Yeah. Yeah. So no, it wasn't. I wasn't going nuts or anything. And
I think your dad's a minxie.
He's a practical joker. But anyway, I had to push away from the desk, and I left the office for about an hour. It was just. It still amazes me that happened. Somehow he was able to manipulate the message to say Frank. Frank doesn't even sound like Brian. It's just not. Yeah. Just really absolutely amazing. And I was like, okay, I know there's something else.
Oh, yeah. And I had my mother's brother emailed her.
Wow.
And he's obviously in the spirit world.
Wow.
But email. And signed it too with his name.
Wow. Have you ever when you read somebody, have you ever seen the person?
Yes.
Like you actually visually see them, or do you see
all the time?
Wow.
It's not easy to do. You know how they show me what they look like? They'll use somebody in my life. So like my Aunt Ann had red hair. You know, so if I see an image of my aunt with red hair and blue eyes, I know that that's the way the person looked.
Oh, wow.
Or my husband, he's, bald with he's a biker guy, so bald with a big beard. So I'm able to describe your loved ones based on,
the parallels that they're being presenting to you.
I have, not a lot, I have seen apparitions. Most of the time, it's got to be a dream visit. And if you're before, I usually, well, not usually, it happens every once in a while. I will actually see what they look like from head to toe, and then it belongs to somebody I'm reading the next day.
Wow.
And then I'll say to them, I'm like, all right, listen, I'm in a school, which means I'm either a principal or a teacher. I have this actually happened, black curly hair, and I look like I was in my 50s, which means unfortunately I passed fairly young. Right. And the woman was like, that's my mom. And I'm like, yes, that can happen, just not as much as I would love it to happen.
I think you answered my second question, which was, do you ever see them the day before the reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
so
actually.
You kind of know what's happening.
No, I don't. No, I don't always realize it until. So, for example, my husband and I started watching the Vikings on Netflix. Okay. And the name was Harold or something like that. And the next day I'm sitting in the reading, and it's like they have a Viking past, and the father's name is Harold, So sometimes, no, I'm not aware that what I'm doing that day actually has a connection to my next reading. Wow. And then sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, I'm thinking a lot about, law enforcement, right? Why is law enforcement on my mind? And then the person, that's coming in for a reading is in law enforcement. So every reading is different. Yeah.
The reading I had with you, it was the first part of it just absolutely on the money. The last part of it was on the money, and then the middle part of it, you veered off, and you were talking about somebody else. And you said to me, just write it down, and you'll find out about this over the next week.
It seemed as though it was going off. It seemed to you as though it was going off.
Well, part of the prayer that I said was, I want to know something that she couldn't have possibly read me. And you told me this thing. It was actually for another family member. And when I talked with them,
it all fell into place.
It all fell into place. It was amazing stuff. So has that ever happened? I know it happened with me, but it's you can't control this. It's basically whoever comes through is meant to come through.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So remember, I'm reading the public for a pretty long time. Okay. So I have learned to allow whoever's meant to come through first to come through. And then I allow my clients to stop me and say, hey, I lost my friend. Can you try to connect with my friend? And what I do is I'll reset and we'll ask the friend to come through. And I have to say majority of the time it happens. Now, here's my take on that. When a medium or a psychic says, well, we can't control who comes through. Yes, that's true. But it can also be that maybe we're just not connecting to them. So it doesn't mean that they're not there. It just might mean that this person's father just, has their vibration is higher than maybe the friend's vibration. So I'm going to go and, connect to the dad and pay no mind to the friend. Right. Not that I want to dismiss the friend, but I'm having this great, amazing conversation with the dad, and we're everything is rolling. You don't want to stop that. But I also want to, keep in mind that the person that I'm reading, may need to hear from that friend who passed away. Right. So the friend is most of the time will be there. But what I have also learned, because I can't read myself and I've gone to other mediums, one thing I pride myself on is I do take the time to do that. A lot of mediums do not. They will not allow you
Path
to.
of least resistance.
Yeah, so they'll just say, hey, this is who's coming through and this is it. But I'm very big on, hey, if I can do this and if I can get you that friend, I'm going to try to do it the best way that I can. And for the most part, yeah. If I don't get them, it just might mean that I don't see them or I'm not connecting with them.
Wow.
But it does, I do for the most part.
Yeah, that was actually, that was going to be my next question was, can you read yourself?
No.
And
What interesting.
Kind of, and no, I don't know. It's I can read outward.
Right.
It's very hard to read inward.
Right.
So what does that mean? I know my grandparents. I know my dad. I know my dogs that passed. So where's the wow factor, right? Unless my dad comes to me, in a dream visit, which we've already spoken that he says I'm not ready for him.
Right.
It depends. They have to work that much more harder to come to me, and that's why I'd rather just kind of go to somebody else.
Somebody else you trust.
It's just somebody that I trust and be like, hey, who's around me, But yet,
right.
I have had moments where this is interesting. You know what EVP is?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just out of curiosity.
Can we just explain what that is, just in case?
Yes.
EVP is electronic voice phenomenon. And normally it's picked up on, an answering machine. And I'm wondering what we're going to listen back to when we actually listen to this one, because you never know, it could come through on here.
They have people who specialize in it.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say names?
No.
So there's, I don't know if you ever heard of Steve Huff. Have you ever heard of him?
That sounds familiar.
I think he's done some paranormal, some of the shows that you were discussing on one of your other episodes.
Yeah.
I think he's been a guest on there.
HOUGH or HUFF?
I think it's HUFF.
Okay.
Steve Huff. Okay. So he's really big into EVP.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that follow him, but one person that is just like him, I decided I was curious. So I set up a session with him, and I'll never forget this. I really wanted to connect with my dad. That's how I was grieving. This was right in the very beginning.
Sure.
And I saw an image of my dad, and my dad goes, he's full of crap. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So I let him do the session.
That's funny.
And honestly, he was. My dad was the biggest ball buster.
Right.
He busted chops. My dad had the best personality. He wanted, as far as UFOs, like you're saying, he wanted to be abducted. He's like, why can't I be abducted? So
pick me.
Right.
He's like, I love having nightmares. I want the spirit. So my dad had a great sense of humor.
That's funny.
So this guy.
How did he feel about Bigfoot?
Oh, forget it. He was a big sci-fi guy. He believed in there was mermaids. If you remember, there was a documentary on mermaids. Okay, forget it. He got my kids involved in that documentary.
I was watching it too. I'm sorry.
It was amazing. No, it was a good documentary. And the Bigfoot. So he was a huge believer in all of it.
Yeah, my father believed in UFOs. He really believed that we were put here on this planet. Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. It's a possibility.
It is a possibility, and you never told me that.
Yeah, he was. You can't believe that. Yeah.
You make me feel like I'm the kook.
I never.
Listen, I would be a hypocrite to say that I don't believe in other things. I mean, come on.
You have to.
You have to.
First of all, I just would like to believe. I love this world so much, and I love the universe and all the mystery so much that I just need to believe that there's still wonderment.
And there's so many things that we don't know. And that's why people will say, well, you're a medium, you know these things. I'm like, I know nothing. I'm only supposed to know what I'm meant to know.
Right.
And it's really for guidance and advice and to prove that they do exist and that they are with us. But other than that, that's exactly what you said. It's magical.
It's magical.
There are people that believe fairies exist. I would love to believe fairies exist. Have I experienced it? No.
Right.
Have I experienced Bigfoot? No. you know, but is there a chance that, you know, it's real? Yeah.
Sure.
Right? I'm open-minded to it.
Yeah.
Right?
But we are, definitely.
Definitely open-minded to it.
Yes, when I was small, I would say, I know how much, I know God loves me. I know He loves me. I just knew it, and I still feel that way, but it got shut down by people, and it was like, well, why? I mean, this is my faith, and that there's so much more possibility out there, and one of those possibilities is that there is a Lord who has been so good to me.
No, people are very closed-minded.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm going to bring this up because I'm just going to bring it up. But
I think you should bring it up.
I'm just bringing it up. But, you know, one of my best friends is married to, you know, born-again Christian family. Mm-hmm. So whenever I am in their presence, it's, you know, I'm waiting for them to like, oh, you know, she's the devil and everything. And, you know, I've had conversations with them and I'm like, you know, I just have a question. You know, what is your take on talking in tongues? Actually, I'm going to ask you guys, what is your take on talking in tongues?
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well,
I believe
I don't know enough about it.
I guess it's maybe you can explain a little bit better than I can. It's really
I know what happens.
So from what I understand, it's the Christian beliefs of, I guess, the Holy Spirit. There is a receiver and then there is a speaker. So somebody speaks and that's the talking in the tongues. And the language is supposed to be like a very, very old, ancient you know, language. And their ability, their gift is to speak this language. And then you have the receiver who is able to translate what is being said. So this is a gift from the Holy Spirit. So my question to these, you know, Christians are, well, why is it so hard for you to believe that I'm connecting to the spirit world in a loving way, but you guys have no problem believing that talking in tongues is a gift from the Holy Spirit?
Right.
And their responses are always the same. Well, because it is from the Holy Spirit, and what you're doing is work of the devil. So when you have closed-minded people that are not willing to open up, because right away they go straight to the Bible, right?
Right.
But the Bible is an interpretation. And I'm going to say this and probably cause a lot.
No. Go for it.
You know,
we're behind you.
What do you think a prophet is, right? Who wrote the Bible, right?
Right.
Men. Men wrote that Bible.
Right.
Jesus didn't write the Bible.
No, prophets wrote that Bible. What do you think another word for prophet is? Psychic. Intuitive,
right?
Witch, however you want it, whatever name that they call, fortune teller,
right?
You know, so basically, and this is my joke, right? I was joking around with my husband. I'm like, you know, it's equivalent to me writing the Bible, right? I would not believe what I wrote, you know, because I'm not 100%. I'm a human being. So why would I believe in another man, you know, who says that, you know, he had this direct connection to the Lord, and these are the Lord's words? Well, you're just a prophet, and a prophet's just another term for fortune teller. So again, when religion gets involved and like people start saying to me, you do the work of the devil, why? Because some man wrote that in the Bible?
Right.
Now, I absolutely do believe that the Bible was written in semi-good intent. Okay, I do believe lots of it.
Yeah.
But I also believe that it does divide us in a way.
It does.
And also the underlying misogyny of having this formalized spirituality suddenly become a diptych under which, you know, that this overriding diptych of how one might access power here on earth and control.
Absolutely.
Okay, so...
But that's a whole other...
Yeah, that's a whole
people are going to hate me for saying this, but the Bible has been edited.
Oh, many times.
And there are books that are left out of the Bible that they don't want you to know. And it's kind of a... You know, if you have this book that basically you're supposed to be leading your life by, you could put stuff in there to kind of control people, right? So, you know,
it's very manipulative.
It is.
It's very manipulative.
It is. So the thing is...
Take the good and keep it good, and then get rid of the bad.
Okay, so you know what I believe? I believe that good is good Love is love. And it's basically, if you're coming across and you're giving messages, that's all in love, right? Absolutely. Isn't that of God? I don't think that would be of the devil.
That's the word that we ascribe. Yes, I believe.
Because
that was one of the questions that was, is God real? Now we know how you're going to answer that.
Oh, God's real. But, I mean, I don't think the God that, well, I think there's only one God, but I think that we have different names for that God. Like I said earlier, like Mother Nature is God. I think Allah, the Middle Eastern, right? Right. God. Right. You know, Jesus, if, you know, people believe in Jesus over God, all right, Jesus is God. The Buddha, right? I think that God is just one being, one energy, and whatever we choose to call him, her, it, whatever, is our choice.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
I agree.
I think it's spot on.
I agree. And
I do want to say this, that you know, if you believe in God, then we are all the Bible teaches that we're all part of God.
We're all God's children.
Yeah. So
we need to get along.
Don't we have spirit in each of us? We have soul, and we're part of God. So, you know, so if you can't connect with that, why couldn't you connect with that if you're part of that energy, you know?
I've said this to non-believers, you know, the cynics. I've said many prayers to God that if this was not a gift or an ability, depending on what you want to call it, then I don't want it.
Right.
You know, I have children. I have a family. You know, my mother lives with me. I don't want negative energy in my home. So why would I believe that it's nothing but love entering my home or doing these readings? Like, and I tell people, I'm like, I'm very protective of my family. If I thought I was doing anything negative or connecting with the devil, I've asked God numerous amount of times, take it away. And it's always here.
It's always there.
So I know in my heart, 100%, again, whatever God you believe in, but it's
I feel sad for people who feel that way.
I do too.
Yeah.
Very closed-minded.
Yes. And that, like I say, on this show, that, you know, that is a possibility. And like I said, I've said many times, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I can't say it enough, it doesn't have to just be fairies and Bigfoot and things like UFOs and aliens and just your day to day, you know, to shut oneself off, to live in this torturous myopia. It must be awfully dismal to not think that, yes, that's a possibility. And even if somebody else believes that, why is that some evil thing? Why can't that be a good thing? You don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
And
you live a richer, deeper, fuller life.
And what's hurtful is, you know, whenever somebody finds out that this is what I do for a living, it's either they love it and they accept it, or some people get a little mean about it, you know, and it's like, hey, I'm a human being, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be rude and be mean to you because of your beliefs. And, you know, it's okay if you don't believe in what I do, but it's not okay when, you know, you call me the devil or you're mean to me or you're rude to me, because I'm still a human being with feelings and emotions. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying. It's like, why can't people just respect and be open-minded and be okay with what other people feel or believe? And I think that's what we're all kind of working towards, right, in this world? Because
I did. I recently had to send a message to a very, very dear loved one and explain, you know, that the relationships that I want will be loving, respectful, and kind. And that's it, you know. And you don't have to talk about it, but I hope no one's been mean to your children. That would make me mad.
There was an incident. There was an incident, but and I think that's the incident that really transformed my son, because of, you know, the boys making fun of him. And I mean, they actually went so far as to send my website through everybody's I don't know, diss chat or whatever it is, however the social And it embarrassed my son. I mean, the good thing is they were like, "Oh, she's hot. Who is that?" So that was the one positive. And they were
she is. By the way.
No, I don't think. But so like we got it. Like like I would say to my son, "Well, there's a positive there, right?" Because I had to take the negative and turn it into a positive. Like they could have said she's ugly, right?
Right.
But he was like, "That's my mother," So it was a lot for him, and I felt bad for him. But I told him, who cares?
Right.
Whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, this. We had a chat before we did we're doing the podcast now, but we talked maybe a couple of weeks ago, and this has to be a tremendous sacrifice in one way. In one way, you're helping people, which is great, but then it's
There's
kind
a
of
price you pay.
There's a price you pay for this.
There is.
And I've talked to people, and I do a paranormal podcast. Fortunately, a lot of people are very receptive to that. And have been, oh yeah, I've had this happen, and I'm exploring all this other stuff, and normally it's positive, but occasionally, if you say it to the wrong person, it's kind of like they start to think that you're a little bit wacky, and so I'm sure you've had that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're colorful, hon.
But I think
not today. I'm wearing white, so
I think there are more people out there that believe.
I think there are
too.
Because we every time I don't know why, but we talked about this on the latest podcast. We went out to wine country, and we were just out there for like an hour, just sipping some wine, and we're talking to people, and then all of a sudden, I guess the manager of the winery came over, and so. We're talking. She said, "Where are you guys from?" or whatever, and I don't know why, but I don't tell this to everybody. But I say, I do a podcast called. We do a podcast called Back to Paranormal.
You felt, I know that you pick up on messages. You certainly do, and you knew that she was making a connection with us for a reason, and you knew what that reason was.
Yeah, and then
she did.
She started to open up about different experiences she had with somebody that just passed away, and then
her best friend.
Yeah, and then it was just it was pretty wild.
Such a lovely.
I have like a red light, green light. So depending on where I'm at, if I get that green light, I can say to them, "Oh, I'm a medium." But if I get that red light, that's like their way of saying, "Don't even go there."
Right.
They're not open to it. So then I end up saying I'm a therapist.
Right.
I teach which I do, and teach meditation. But it's exactly the same thing. It's like you get that feeling of, I can have this discussion with them. They're going to be open to it.
Yeah.
But it is unfortunate that we have to kind of,
temper yourself like that. That's,
Because even like when I go to the doctor's office, you got to fill out, what do you do for a living? It's like I have to sit there and go, do I even write this? What do I, so it's unfortunate that we have to.
I think you should be proud.
I am proud.
Good.
I'm very proud, and I don't care what people think of me. It's my kids.
Yeah.
I think once my kids get a little bit older, and my daughter's still 17, and still in school, in high school, and once she graduates, then I'm going to care a little bit less. But until then, and I also think that was why I didn't do podcasts and stuff, because my kids were still really young. And,
right. Well.
And they come first.
You have any other questions? I'm just trying to think of.
We have one last question.
One last question
from a listener, a faithful listener. I've saved the best for last.
Here we go.
Why is Brian Mitchell so blessed with great looks and an intellectual noggin? This is a question that keeps coming up.
Yeah,
Adrian.
Yeah, there's something going on there. Yeah.
Listen, I saw that in you. I absolutely did. I mean, think about it. I mean, at the moment you said, "Hey, you want to come on to my podcast?" I was like, bam. Like, yeah. You know what? I do.
Wow.
And I've turned down many, many podcasts and shows and radio and it's that stop sign that I always tell, the red and the green, and I got the green, and I'm like, oh, okay.
He's like, green, woo!
Very genuine. But
we got the sirens going on.
We got the sirens, exactly. So you imagine what goes on in my head.
Yeah.
But to answer that question about how, this can be the death of a medium. Have you ever heard of Edgar Casey?
Yes.
Okay, he pretty much died because he continued on reading until his very last breath.
We saw a documentary about it.
Edgar
This
Casey.
man put himself.
Was it Edgar or
through...
Edward? Edgar.
I think you're right, Edgar Casey. Did I say Edward or Edgar?
No, I think I said it.
Oh.
No, I
she
just
said Edgar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's Edgar Casey.
Yeah,
But I just wanted to touch on what you had said, and it is true because if you have to be. There is a huge responsibility.
No, he was a thorn bird. He was a thorn bird. He just impaled. He did it. He
was meant to do it, and and I can relate to that because I overdid it one day and I actually cracked my head open. So I don't think people realize the amount of energy that it takes for someone to do this work, and it was very scary. I can't believe I continued doing it, but I did, and it's almost I like to describe. My husband's an electrician, so I use this analogy. It's like plugging. It's like I'm getting plugged into a socket, when I read people. And it's like I'm getting zapped, and then I unplug and I'm just like, Right. So I happened to unplug a little too quick and and I got 17 stitches. So just to answer that question, yes, it can take a lot out of somebody. So I always tell people, make sure this is what you want to do because there's a lot of responsibility and it's draining, very draining.
Yeah, the human body has so much energy in it.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, and people don't even realize it.
And she's operating on multiple wavelengths, multiple.
Absolutely.
Energy is waves.
Yeah. It's like I'm being electrocuted. That's what it feels like.
I've been electrocuted, and it was not fun.
This is going to be the last question. This is going to be absolutely the last question because we're having fun. I hope you're having fun.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I love talking to you guys.
Me too.
So, have you ever been in a situation? You're not reading, but you're at a place, and it's like, you're at the library. And you're just drawn to this one person, like you have something's coming to you and it's a message for them. Have you ever?
Yes.
You have done
I
that?
have.
Yeah.
So here's my response to that. I don't like to get into people's spaces. And also for me, for my health and, my sake, when I close up, I close up. I don't want to connect. I want to go out to dinner. I don't want to have to be reading people but every now and then, and I do allow this because there's boundaries with me in the spirit world and they know my boundaries.
Right.
Unless I can save a life, okay? Yeah. Unless I can save a life, they are not to interfere in my, my dinners or whatever.
Right.
So one day I was with a friend. We went out to eat, and the waiter comes over to me, and I was not paying attention. And my friend and I were ordering, and the next thing I know, I get a tap on my shoulder, and which opened me up, and I'm like, oh, and it winded up being an older woman. Her name was Teresa. So I'm looking at my friend and I'm like, oh, I think this kid needs me to read him. So she's like, oh, he's a sweet, he's a sweet guy. We always come here, her and her husband. So they knew him, from the waiter. Yeah. So she pulled him over and she's like, hey, would you mind if my friend reads you? And he's like, what? And she's like, just let her do it, So I'm like, hey, I go, do you know who Teresa is? He goes, yeah, it's my mother's mother. It's my grandmother. And I'm like, okay, this is going to sound really scary, okay, but please listen to me. You have a brother? And he's like, yes. And I said, okay, I don't like the way your brother's heart looks. He goes, my brother's an athlete. Like, he's like this. And I'm like, okay, I'm not saying, but please. I said, I'll pay for the visit. Like, this is how serious this was. I said, I will pay for the cardiologist. I will just, please, I hope I'm wrong, I said, but please just tell your mother to bring your brother, to a cardiologist. That must have been maybe September, October. Christmas Eve, I get a call from the mother crying, telling me I saved her son's life. That something like his heart was 90% blocked, and the cardiologist was like, how, what?
Right.
What? Like the kid was an athlete. He was young. I think he was like 21, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you don't expect those things from a young kid.
Could have just been dropped dead.
You know, she was like, "Thank you," and I'm like, "No, don't thank me. Thank your mom." You know, because your mom got and it's very easy to get my attention. So to answer your question, it's happened to me, I want to say 5 or 6 times.
Right.
But unless it's important, because like I said, there's boundaries. Unless I can save somebody's life, and I'm not saying I'm God, so it's not me saving their life, but unless I can help save someone's life, maybe that's the way to say it.
It's a real emergency.
It's a real emergency, then that's the only time that like spirit will kind of be like, hey, you
intervene.
know.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What a great final question that I had.
Yes, that was a good final question.
Yeah.
Wow.
And thank goodness you were there.
Yeah.
And that waiter
I
was
think
there
I was meant to be
time.
there.
No coincidences.
There are no coincidences. I was told to be there, you know. And just so you guys know, you guys don't pick the mediums. So like for you, like when you said you had come to me, you didn't choose me. Your loved ones did.
Wow.
And that's what a lot of people don't know either.
Wow. That's interesting.
So it's
Wow.
So
very neat.
I love it.
I love doing it too. I do. It's great.
Do you have any final words for the audience or for us or?
No, this was a lot of fun.
It was
Thank
a lot
you.
of fun.
Thank you for having me.
We'd love to have you back in the future. And,
this was great.
This may be a 2-part episode.
It might be, and hopefully next time we can have you in our home.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll work. Yeah, this was you guys, and thank you for making me feel comfortable. And you know, you have amazing energy, and this was a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jennifer. And okay, absolute deadline. If somebody wants to have a reading with you, what do we do?
So I do have an assistant. Her name is Gloria Jean. She's my godsend.
Okay.
You just have to email the office. So the website is www.jennifer-ann.net. And you can email the office at psychicmediumjennifer@gmail.com. And my assistant's name is Gloria Jean.
There you go.
She will assist.
Well, I can vouch for you. Because I've had I've given your name to other people, and they've contacted you, and were read by you, and were floored. They said, "She is amazing." I said, "I know." So anyway, check that out. We'll put something up on the Back to Paranormal.com. We'll put a direct link. All right.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for coming here and doing this. We just to say, we did this remotely. This is not from the studio. This is basically we had to go to a different location because of an AC problem. So if you heard kids screaming in the background, that's
they're just playing.
They're just playing. They're having fun somewhere. So anyway, thank you again, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
You know, that is so fascinating because I didn't know if I would enjoy part 2 as much as part 1. After an hour, you know, you kind of feel like things maybe fizzle out.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed part 2 as much, if not more so.
This could have went on for...
I know, I really have still more questions.
Yeah, it's funny. We closed it out. We closed it out when we did because we had, I think it was a good final question for that interview.
Yes.
But honestly, we could have probably stayed there for we actually talked for another hour after that?
Roughly. Maybe not a full hour, but close
to almost an hour after that. And it was still fresh and fascinating. And, we hope to have her back in the future.
I would love it.
What's really funny is you had a final question that you thought of it after.
They keep coming to me. These questions keep coming to me. And
so what was the question?
The thing that I was curious about that I would like to know is if, when she's out and about in the world doing her doings, what, have you at the store, what have you.
Right.
Does she know that if she passes by a stranger, that they are also a psychic medium of her?
Oh, that's a great question.
Of her skill. Yeah. Like, is it some sort of unspoken I would think that there would be some sort of thing that they would each pick up on.
I think that's, I would think if you're sensitive, I think that's very possible. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, I think we talked about the show about me talking to that person at the winery, the manager.
Yes.
Yeah. And picking up on that, and normally wouldn't just blurt that out. I have a podcast called Back to Paranormal.
No, I know.
No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, and so
you were basically like, put her there.
Yeah, put her there, chum. Yeah,
yeah.
So I don't normally do that, but in certain situations, you kind of get a sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, like she was saying, she has the red light and the green light.
Yeah, Jennifer Ann. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway. We'll ask her that, and we'll have the answer next week. So that's something to look forward to.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So when we do next week's show, you'll have a little bit more, just a tiny bit, maybe getting that answer, and hopefully that you'll come back for that.
I hope you all enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed.
We had a lot of fun with this, and I think you were pleasantly surprised by the whole thing. So
I don't think that I didn't think that you were overstating the degree of her capability. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
But to say that it was pleasant is definitely an
understatement. Anyway, thank you again, Jennifer Ann, for doing the show.
Yes.
And once again, we have the backtoparanormal.com. So go to that. And I do have to throw this in. Okay.
We have a little gift that we want to reward.
Yeah, we have a Back to Paranormal mug, and we'll post a picture of that on the Facebook page, whatever. But if you write a little review, like a paragraph, it doesn't have to be over the top, but if you really like the show, say something nice about us, post it somewhere, take a picture of it or a screenshot, send it to us, and just put under the heading, mug. Mug review. And if we...
I want me a mug.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we'll... The best review, let's just say that. Mm-hmm. The best review, that person will win a Back to Paranormal mug.
Yay!
How about that?
For your chai tea or whatever.
Or whatever you want to put in it.
Coffee.
Yeah. So it's a good looking, you can check it out. We'll put some pictures up over the next couple of days. And that contest ends on August 31st. And that's it. All right. So anyway, we'll have it on the website and we'll have it on the Facebook page. So there you go. And you look great.
I love you.
I love you. Anyway, we love you out there.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
and thank you for listening.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time on Back to Paranormal. Good night, everybody.
Good night. God bless.